Authorities continue searching for a motive in a Georgia high school shooting that left 4 people dead and 9 others hurt. The 14-year-old shooter is being charged as an adult. 2 teachers, Richard Aspinwall and Christina Ermy, and 2 students, Mason Schermerhorn and Christina Angulo, were killed. 9 people who were hurt are expected to survive, and authorities say they received multiple tips last year that led police to interview the shooter, but at the time they didn't have enough evidence to arrest him.
Joining us now is former federal prosecutor and defense attorney Rick Convertino. So Rick, a lot of people are drawing parallels between what happened in Georgia and what happened here in 2021 at Oxford High School. Where are there similarities in the circumstances we know so far, and where do you think these cases are different?
Well, where they're different is in the law of each state. In Georgia, there's no specific child preventive act that requires the guns to be secured and safe from unrestricted children to have access to it. There is no law that prohibits that in Georgia. There is no gun lock law in Georgia. It's an open carry state in Georgia. It's been, there's some research group that deemed Georgia to have the worst gun laws or the most lenient gun laws in the country. So there's a difference in the gun culture between Georgia here and here in Michigan. I think there's more conscientiousness on protecting guns from and making sure they're secure. There's a state law now that was passed after the Crumbly case. So there's the difference in the law. The difference in the facts we're not quite sure about because we don't know exactly what the father was aware of the shooter and how much he knew. He said that, of course, last year the shooter was investigated for online threats to the school. The sheriff's department went out, interviewed the shooter and the father. The father said that he kept the guns secured and away from his son and that he was unaware of any activities that his son might be involved in regarding this kind of thing. And so whether or not that was true, that's a case that'll be investigated thoroughly.
It's so troubling, Rick, that this just keeps happening across the country. And the fact that they said that they were interviewing him, that they knew there was some kind of issue, and then this happened. What does this do moving forward, just for the fact that sometimes there are troubled students, but maybe not necessarily ones that are capable of doing something like this, but it has to be taken very seriously? Well,
it's an excellent question, and what it's going to do moving forward, in all honesty, is absolutely nothing. Yesterday was the 388th mass shooting in the United States since the beginning of the year. Last year there were 690. That's a shooting of 4 more individuals were seriously wounded or killed in one incident. 388 as of yesterday. There'll be more this week and next week and so on. You know, if you had an incident in an airplane where there was something wrong with the plane and it underwent severe turbulence or a sudden drop, 2 children were killed, 2 adults were killed, and 7 people seriously injured in that airplane. That airplane would cease from flying. There'd be investigations. There'd be changes made. There'd be serious legislation that was passed or looked into regarding the safety issue of that particular plane or whatever the circumstances was. And that's the difference. These are numbing. You know, you hear the same BS thoughts and prayers, but when you know, until those guns, these are AR-15s. Their people are very rabid about this kind of weapon, either pro or against. It's a political issue. I saw a study today that said 91% of Democrats believe this country needs more secure gun laws, stricter gun laws. 24% of Republicans. So it is a fractious issue. It's something that divides us as Americans. But to answer your question, nothing is going to change between now and the next 100 or so that occur.
You know, there's always an urge, a need to place blame, to figure out how this could have been prevented. And people are looking at the family, as they always do. They're looking at law enforcement. The sheriff down there said they did not drop the ball on this. He said they did all they could with what they had at the time. Do our laws support the possibility that people crave that these things can be prevented, or is that a fantasy?
You know, laws are only as good as their enforcement. The sheriff went out, interviewed the father, interviewed the son last year in 2023 regarding the son's online threats for a school shooting and determined there wasn't probable cause. That's a legal standard. It's a lower legal standard. We have to prove at a trial beyond a reasonable doubt, proofs beyond a reasonable doubt, and in this case it was a probable cause standard, which is lower, and the Sheriff's Department didn't feel that the probable cause was met. So it is a legal issue, you're right, and there is no red flag law in Georgia, like there are in many other states where there can be intervention if there's a mental health issue, and guns can be seized and forfeited in those kinds of circumstances. There isn't one in Georgia. There are many states that have very lax and very lean gun laws. It's just the culture, the political culture of the states that vary, and you're not going to see this stop. It's just, unfortunately, it's going to continue on and on and on.
Yeah.
Do you see this in any way, kind of mirroring what we saw with the Oxford school shooter and his parents having to answer a lot of tough questions too, just in terms of what could have been done to stop this?
I think if their father was on notice, like the Crumbleys were, that there was a serious mental health issue, and I think in this case there obviously is. We see these, it's kind of a profile, young, angry male teenagers who have access to very high-powered, accurate weapons. You don't have to be a sharpshooter to hit a target, over 100 yards away with an AR-15. Yeah. And so the access to those weapons by young men who have mental health issues, who are angry. This young man was bullied, according to his father, to a high degree. He didn't want to go back to school, and so a gun is a great equalizer. I mean, it can take down anyone, any size, bigger, smaller, whatever. And so we got to keep them out of the hands of people who just don't have the mental capacity to make rational and reasonable decisions.
All right, well, another shooting that we're talking about, as you said, just a painful reality we seem to be stuck with right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's right.
Rick Convertino, as always, thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.